officers intend to resign immediately after the cessation of hostilities
The Ultimate Light
is not
podcast.
combat ready. The
Your
enemy
host
we
is
face
Mr.
is
D.
not a
That's me.
superhero. The times when they were strong
So,
are long gone. By the year
let's
2000, they
talk
did not possess the same power. The aid
about
provided to them sparingly by the American administration and its allies
the
creates the
Russian
appearance of
move.
strength. We must act based on realities, i.e., act in a way that preserves our sovereignty
Which
and ensures favorable conditions
consists
for
of
reclaiming our rights,
sending
for which we continue to
nuclear
fight. In
submarines
Lebanon, there is much discourse. People talk
to
about what
Cuba
pains them. But when it comes to the faith
as
and
part
national
of an
sovereignty of the
exercise.
nation, we make no compromises. Those who wish to protect Lebanon from war should pressure Israel and those they consider their allies on the international stage so that they, in turn, press Israel
Welcome to
to
Life.
stop the
Do
war
this
against
life
Gaza.
starts.
Despite
So today,
the ever-growing voices of condemnation
let's talk
over
about
Israel's
Russia
action, one global
action,
organization that has remained
which is seen by the
silent
West
is
as
the
provocation.
International
America.
Olympic Committee.
Yeah, America's like that.
Just over a month
When
away,
they do
Olympic
something,
protesters have been taking
it
a
has to be
stand against Israel's
classed
participation.
as
Now, they want all
good.
Israeli athletes to be
When
forced to
others
compete
do
under
something,
neutral
is classed
flag.
as the same thing is classed as
The
evil.
capital itself, the Swiss city of Lausanne.
We are used to
Crowds
that.
gathered outside the IOC's headquarters decrying
So,
Israel's actions in Gaza.
remember a couple of days ago when Russia said that if you help my enemy with weapons,
the protest organizer
just remember
only fair
that
the Olympic Committee be consistent.
we will also help
Olympic Committee must be
your
neutral,
enemy
must take the same decision for all,
with
and it has to take it from a humanitarian point of view.
weapons.
Politics has to move over of this thing when it's deal with the must not be
So,
a base of discrimination. All countries have to be deal in the same measures and to take the same action against everyone.
Yes, I'm saying something here. Olympic Committee must be neutral. Sport is for peace and cooperation.
Participant or one of the members in the committee was Israel. Is doing
So,
genocide,
what it is, because Russian
killing the children and infancies against
athletes
the human rights.
have
And
been
by law, the neutral way, this
literally
have to be prevented and
banned
banned
from
participating in the Olympics in the neutral way without making without politicizing this issue.
banned from
So what happened
participating in the Olympics.
with Russia
And
and
if
Belarus,
they
it was a completely
insist
political
on
decision.
doing it,
And
they have to
basically
participate
now
as
political decision
neutral,
not to ban Israel to participate.
so as if they don't have a country, which is just another aberration. Russian athletes should be there. Why are Israeli athletes there? Why?
Great Britain, who then went on to
Why are they there?
2012, they should have been kicked out of world sports. Not just what they did in Iraq, but what they did in countries all around the world. In their empire where the sun never set, even what they did in Northern Ireland by slaughtering people
So,
on Bloody Sunday, for example. They should have been
Russia decided to send their submarines to Cuba, and Cuba is very happy with this.
because they have
America and their allies,
and that's the whole issue of it. It's a
They
huge,
are-
stupid political game, and I think the worst case we've seen has been the use of doping, for example,
crying
in Russia
out
to ban
loud.
Russian athletes or to restrict Russian athletes. And now we see that Russian tennis players and Belarusian tennis players can't even have their own flag
Standard
in their logo. They're just playing as
provocation
flagless
to
people. And again, it's just these stupid political gestures that have no meaning. I would love it would be just so good that we could just separate sports and
Violation.
politics. But unfortunately, sports are brilliant.
All sorts. So America
To humiliate countries,
doesn't
to bully
like
countries, to intimidate countries, to
people
insult
to do
countries. It's a perfect weapon. So
what they do to
unfortunately,
others.
with the way with humanity, with the world we live in, with the people who are holding the levers of power right now, sports are a perfect weapon to help destroy a country.
Right now to northern Iraq, at least 10 people have been
Race
reported
fever is
injured
probably
from a
in time.
massive blaze at an oil
I think it's going to
refinery
be
there
worse
in,
today
Erbil. Now,
because the
this
sun
video
has
you
come
can see
out
on my shoulder are
full
live
blast.
images coming to you. This
The
shows
hay
how
fever
the
is
fire
going to be
still
bad
raging
today.
with close to 12 or so emergency fire crews struggling to contain the blaze. Now, the blaze erupted overnight in an asphalt storage depot at the site of the city of Erbil. The cause remains unknown. Other refinery facilities are located nearby, raising concerns about the possibility for the fire to spread. Right, some business and finance news. The Moscow
Rejecting
Exchange
sanctions.
has suspended trading in dollars and euros after Washington put sanctions on Russia's main financial bourse. Russian central bank has said those trades can continue on the over-the-counter market, and the halt on the Moscow Exchange will not affect regular citizens and companies.
Well, America, in the midst of all this, America is calling for a ceasefire that they don't believe themselves is going to happen. What's the point of having a ceasefire if Israel's just going to continue the war at some point? They will take the enemies, they will take what Hamas has as security, they will move our security, and then just start the process over again.
And companies remain safe.
Looks like
Deposits
over there
and
you
accounts
have
of
every
citizens
army,
and organizations in US dollars and euros remain in the same
every
mode of disbursement of funds
body
established
there
by the Bank of Russia.
fight
Essentially, what's happened is the Moscow Stock Exchange, which would be,
or
let's
support
say we're from the UK,
the
and we
move
are
by
equivalent of the London Stock
USC.
Exchange.
It's all
It has
political.
certain currencies that you
Whatever
are
they
allowed
want
to
to
buy stocks and shares in Russian
Sure.
companies like Gazprom, Lukoil, Rosneft, any company that's listed there. What's happening now is you're not able to directly buy those using dollars and
New
euros,
function
but you
for
can use other
suspension of
currencies, be
dollar.
that ruble, Chinese
Yen,
RMB. However, you brought up the point of over the
more.
counter. What that basically means is that any Russian bank can still swap your dollars and euros for rubles and vice versa. You can hold dollars in your Russian bank account as well as rubles. So the average consumer isn't really affected by it. They're just going to have to convert the funds into a currency that the Moscow Stock Exchange will now accept.
Right, but Chris, it said that, I mean, in the statement, it said that the average or everyday Russian won't be affected. I mean, is that really the case, or?
That's not the case whatsoever. So every single Russian bank that does accept dollars is still doing so. The central bank has not restricted that whatsoever. And indeed, we looked at the sort of the resilience of the banks. You know, when news like this happens around the world, you can see some fluctuation in the price of the country's main currency being the Russian ruble. We didn't really see an effect at all. We saw some of the small banks adjust their price, but every major bank, be that the Sberbank, Russia's largest bank, or any of the bigger banks in Russia, really keep the rate. I was looking at the rates this morning. It's around 89 cents to the ruble on a dollar value term, which is about the same as it's been all the way through. And indeed, we've seen some fluctuation between ruble and dollar since you and I have been actually here in Russia a couple of years. I'm sure you've seen it yourself. But it always seems to recover back to where it should be, which is around the mark we're seeing right now. I don't think it is at all, Murad, because we're seeing a massive global movement towards de-dollarization. I mean, if we take some news from Saudi Arabia, I believe this week, in Saudi, they have a 50-year treaty where they exclusively have to trade their oil reserves in US dollars. Now, we know they're not going to renew that treaty because they've already agreed with the Chinese that they will buy, the Chinese can buy oil from them in Chinese renminbi. So I think really the process that's happening now is by the US putting in sanctions, they're only just accelerating their own demise and accelerating de-dollarization. In fact, I think we've got a clip from President Putin where he actually outlines his opinion on this.
Today's American authorities are breaking their tools of success. The dollar is one of the few instruments of the United States' greatness. With their own hands, they are pushing the withdrawal of participants in global economic activity away from the dollar. This is happening because of the reduction in the size of the American economy, and their actions are accelerating this process.
So as we can see from that, Murad, I mean, President Putin is making that point very clear. There's also another sort of snippet of news that he mentioned as well. The World Bank, which is not really a good friend of Russia's, has changed its GDP forecast again. So it wasn't 1.3% growth for Russia. They're now saying between 2.3 to 2.9%. So really, these sanctions are completely ineffective.
In Armenia, about 100 people were reported injured and just as many detained in violent clashes between protesters and police as demonstrators spoke out against territorial concessions to neighboring Azerbaijan. debate descended into a brawl as lawmakers fought over the concessions to Azerbaijan, with which Armenia has fought a series of bloody conflicts. Reports said the violence erupted after the Prime Minister described some top military officials as, quote, cowards and
Dad, you're sleeping.
deserters. Now, last
Dad,
month, Armenia
you're sleeping.
transferred
You're
four
sleeping.
militias to Azerbaijan. The Armenian Prime Minister incurred the right surrendering
Goodness me.
area of Nagorno-Karabakh.
What have you got there?
The latest rally
Do you need a dry milk?
their discontent by chaining themselves and demanding the release of fellow demonstrators who had been detained. Others carrying mirrors intended to show police, quote,